How you doing, guys? Welcome to ZukaTube, and today we're going to be reviewing Twisted Metal Season 1. Now, this just came out. This is July 27th. This came out on Peacock. And as some of you may know, this is a video game-based, show. And I know right away you think red flags, right? Video game adaptations are always bad. Anime adaptations are always bad. A lot of comic book adaptations have been bad. Right? But here we are with Twisted Metal of all things, and you wonder to yourself, how are they going to pull this off? Well, let's talk about it. I'm going to go through, play the trailer, then I'm going to talk a little bit about it, give you my review, with some pros and cons and stuff like that. And then at the end, we'll go through and do some spoilers. Now let's get started and let's watch this trailer.
20 years ago.
20 years ago.
The world fell to shit. Cities put up walls to protect themselves. And threw the criminals out so
end
they
of the
could
world,
fight over what's
typical
left. But
apocalypse
there are
stuff.
humble motherfuckers like me delivering
Humble.
cargo from one walled city to another. And that's where the cars and guns come in. Give me the package, man!
Anthony Mackie coming in there
So if I'm
as the
here
main character.
and the exit is... Oh, they have a Foot Locker. Oh, son of...
I want to hire you. Pick up a package.
Neve
bring it
Campbell.
back. I can make your every wish come
Plays
true.
Raven.
So, John, what do you wish for?
Toilet paper. 2-ply.
I think I can do better.
3-ply? If you put the gun down, I'll
That's the
drop
chick
you
from
off
Brooklyn
as close as I
Nine-Nine.
can to where you're going.
Stephanie
Just
Beatrice.
quiet. She don't talk
Motherfucker, eat shit.
much.
Lots of classic characters coming back. And,
Gonna have to go through Vegas.
well, I'll talk about it. Because, gotta see Sweet Tooth. Fantastic.
I've never seen anyone cut off a human head and catch it as good as that. This never happened to me before. Really?
Oh my god. It's DMV.
What's down the red line?
Damn.
Cool. Screams.
Just like DMV, right? All right, so that's the trailer. Now I'm going to go through and read this summary, right? It says, John Doe, a motor-mouthed outsider with no memory of his past, is offered a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to make his wish of finding community come true, but only if he can successfully deliver a mysterious package across a post-apocalyptic wasteland. With the help of Quiet, a trigger-happy car thief searching for revenge, he faces twisted marauders driving vehicles of destruction and other dangers of the open road, including a highway patrolman and a deranged clown who drives an all-too-familiar ice cream truck. Yes. Okay, so that's basically it, right? It starts out with our character, Anthony Mackie, and he plays John Doe. Now, a lot of people remember John Doe from some of the games and his little story and everything, but it's a little weird because in this, they show him driving at points, the car that would belong to, I believe it's Marcus Kane, who's Roadkill, right? If you look at, even in the trailer, you see a couple little things here and there that nod to it. So they're doing a lot of changes here and there. Certain characters are more like ones from other games. They kind of take stuff that they like from each game because they had so many different things. They had reboots and stuff and all these different changes in people's stories, a lot of nods to all these different characters. So I don't know where they're going to go with things like that. When you see something like this that's a video game and all it is cars and arenas and shooting each other and blasting each other and all that, you wonder how could they make this into a series. But then you remember, if you've played Twisted Metal, they have all these weird clips and stuff like that they would do. They do live action clips, they do CGI clips and all this stuff, photos with stories, depending on the game, of all these stories for the characters with all this goofy shit going on. And you see a lot of that pulled into this. Like any chance they get to give you that, they do it right away. So that's really cool. And it starts out and John Doe is driving through this post-apocalyptic wasteland and he gets a job to, make a delivery. And you got to make these deliveries. And right now there's no like Twisted Metal thing going on, but everybody's always in their car. Their car is one of the most reliable things that they can have aside from like a hideout. And they go around and run missions and try to get by, and that's how you make money. It's like, which is weird because you would think there would still be like some people out there, I don't know, maybe like farming and doing all this different stuff. Like, no, these are people that are almost relying for years on just what's left of the previous world. So very strange how that happens, but it's cool. There's a lot of action. The music is obviously funny and a really good time, especially if you're a 90s like fan. Anthony Mackie's character, John Doe, is very enjoyable, and they have a side like kick character, Quiet, who comes into the fray there. And she has all kinds of issues in the beginning. She has a brother, and he passes away, and they end up encountering each other a couple times, and then eventually kind of join forces. Not really willingly necessarily. Like, they kind of don't really like each other at first. It's a weird situation, the typical, like, we hate each other, but we're doing this to work together to get to a common goal of something, right? And so they're doing these deliveries, and you're getting into all these different aspects of this world, right? You're seeing, nods to certain characters. Like, you've got all these different, like, cop characters. You've got, like, Agent Stone is in that. Let me think. You've got the brother and sister agents. You got the one, well, they're police officers, and then you got the one guy that's, like, he's got this long hair, and he's like an agent at one point in one of the games too, but they play him as a cop in this. They show, Twister. They show a couple different characters and hints to all these different characters as it progresses through the season, because you're wondering, when does the Twisted Metal come in, right? Aside from them just doing crazy shit with their cars and stuff. But like, you'll see hints of that here and there as you start to get through to the end of the season, and you start to realize that there's like this kind of sanctuary, closed in world for the wealthy that's like a normal community. And basically he's doing these driving gigs because he's trying to get a chance to get into that community, right? He wants to just live a normal life. He has no idea who he is. He's John Doe because he's a John Doe. He has no memory. He only has like a burnt photo type deal. And they try to give you a little bit backstory for this character and some backbone on him, with him kind of being like this wild dude doing all this crazy shit, and he's kind of like a badass, you know what I mean? But at the same time, he fumbles a lot, and there's some comedic notes, especially between the two. And the character Sweet Tooth in this is really awesome. Now, there's two people that play this guy, right? Because I think it's like Samoa Joe or something in real life that plays the body. But then the voice is done by... Who the hell's the voice? Let me look. Will Arnett plays Sweet Tooth, which is really surprising, right? So that's pretty cool, and there's just a lot of fun in this overall. Like I said, the sound's really good, the effects are cool, it's a lot of practical effects, a lot of goofy, everything's post-apocalyptic, which I'm sure is easy to do depending on, where you film. And it's just a good time. A lot of jokes, a lot of fun stuff, some good kind of relationship notes here and there. And it's just goofy and doesn't take things too seriously, but at the same time wants to give you as many shout outs and nods to what you've played, because they have to build into the actual Twisted Metal aspect of the show and kind of get you there, right? It's just the intro. And I don't want to give up any spoilers or anything like that, but we'll do that at the end. And in the meantime, I want to get into another thing too. Like, there's some cons to it, because if you're a fan of the game or the games in general, you might be looking at John Doe's character and trying to follow through and not understanding him because he doesn't vibe with the original John Doe from the games. But then at the same time, you get confused because you're like, okay, but we have Sweet Tooth, who's a Kane, but then at the same time there's other Kanes. There was like a taxi cab driver with the last name Kane who might have been like the father potentially, and I got to go back and play. There's so many of them I was playing. Last thing I played was like Twisted Metal Head On for PSP. Actually, that was kind of recently. So definitely a good ride. The actors all do a great job. Everybody's a lot of fun, man, and really Sweet Tooth kind of steals the show. I didn't really want to say anything right away. It's not really a spoiler, but I mean, you watch him in the trailer, he's fantastic. He's just so much fun to watch. You're so excited to see Sweet Tooth be Sweet Tooth, right? So this is definitely a show that I wouldn't take seriously, but I would absolutely recommend to somebody to watch. I mean, it's just a lot of fun. And if you're a fan of these games, then you're going to just get a kick out of it. You know what I mean? You're kind of looking through, fishing through, trying to find those Easter eggs, but at the same time, you're starting to recognize characters and certain aspects from the game or nods to weapons and different things that you get to actually see them do. So like, really fun stuff. A better adaptation. Again, like I reviewed One Piece, and that's a really good one. Definitely check that out. And now, I got Twisted Metal, and I would say that this is pretty good as well. Not saying that I'm like hopeful for where the future goes for other adaptations, but these are some oddball ones that just did a really good job. And I would give this show like a solid 7.5 out of 10. It's just good. It's enjoyable. You can have a lot of fun. You can put it on. You can joke and just have a good time. It's crude. It's funny, it's got action, it's, you know, gory, it's just all kinds of crazy shit going on. Definitely check this one out. Now let's get into the spoilers. That's a 7.5 out of 10 for Twisted Metal. Spoilers. Okay, so at the end, you see John Doe. He's getting to his goal, and he finally gets the chance. He makes his delivery, and he gets to get into this community, but they can only let him in, so Quiet has to bail, and Quiet kind of, you know, forces him to bail. But after being there for a little while, he's not totally comfortable yet. Some things are a little weird, and then he finds out that he's kind of stuck in this situation because Raven, Neve Campbell's character, is trying to put him in the Twisted Metal competition that's going to be coming. You know, that's going to be hosted by Calypso, who they show you a little bit, or they hint towards, you know, earlier on in the show, and you hear his voice and stuff, but you don't see the character. And then they show like a little thing where they're overviewing some of the people that are going to be going in this tournament and stuff, and you see like a flash of Grimm and Axel and stuff like that. So I'm really excited to see them just do that. Like, that'll be so wild to see. And when you get to see all the cool stuff of them driving and shooting at each other and blowing shit up, and they're using sidearms like some of the games and all this stuff, definitely just a good time. You know, I'm looking forward to the second season. I think Anthony Mackie and this is a lot of fun. I think the Stephanie Beatriz is a lot of fun, as well as, of course, Sweet Tooth is fantastic. You know, and I would almost want the entire show to be centered around Sweet Tooth. Like, you know, like imagine if they did that like a Deadpool thing where he's kind of just sitting there narrating at the same time that he's just totally annihilating shit and just being a goofball. I mean, they even have deep cut nods to his little paper bag friend and stuff. Like from one of the credits of the games where he went and like got his long lost buddy and it's a brown paper bag. Like, what? They did. It's just really cool that they went out of their way to do some of that stuff, and definitely worth checking this out. Again, I'm going to say this is a solid 7.5 out of 10. Highly recommend Twisted Metal on Peacock for just people looking to have a casual good time. All right, with that being said, Zukatube out.
People seem to think I'm Ric Flair like I was born with a silver spoon. People think I'm limousine riding when the van used to be my room. They ain't knowing that I had a hard time in, but I staged all of my cartoons. Now I'm looking like I'm styling and profiling, and they take it to the chest like woo.